This video contains 10 minutes of SiFe footage with 1-minute segments per sample.
We passed the act that we have to constantly see how it worked and improve it. For example, making sure that there are significant more subsidies for young people to be able to get into the Affordable Care Act, bringing down overall costs. But at any rate, I think they're going to find when they repeal it, all of a sudden you're going to be reporting on your program at night on PBS about so-and-so died because they got their insurance cut off, would no longer cover them. You're going to find out women are paying more than men again for the same insurance. You're going to find out that pre-existing conditions are able to disqualify you or make the cost of insurance prohibitive. And so they're going to have that's why they're having a problem now. They have no replacement. That should say, look, let's take a look at what you have right now. What don't you like about it? Let's see if we can fix it. Let's see, talk to us. Tell us what your ideas are. But this wholesale, look, the fundamental disagreement most Republicans
really does when you get down to it, because I'm someone who loves religion. I began studying religion and taking interest when I was a kid, when I was a child. And I studied theology, and I was, as you said, I was in a monastery. I got a PhD in religion. I mean, that shows a fair interest and appreciation, actually a deep love of religion and all the traditions. I have a deep love of my own tradition, Catholicism. But there are some differences, and in my thinking today, I've changed over the years. Having been exposed to so many different religious traditions, and I don't mean superficially either, really being affected by them, and also depth psychology. And my practice of psychotherapy over the years, I've had a chance, really a privilege, to work with people at a very deep level and find out what's going on deeply in them.
In this film, I'm playing Tino. He's one of the gang, one of Stephen Dorff and Brad Renfro's gang, and you know, it's not the most glamorous part, but I'm sort of like what's his name, Dorff's right-hand man, and just protecting the neighborhood and gangs in New York in the 50s. And
it's a cool look when there's the bag and t-shirt and all that.
This look takes about an hour in the morning, and it takes about an hour to wash out, but I guess it's worth it. We just decided last week I'm going to be doing James Dean with Mark Rydell, and it's just a biopic, goes through his whole life, deals with issues with his father and how he infused his roles with his own life issues, and how that made his acting so much more powerful because it was so personal. I'm a definite fan, and I'm a definite adherent to that type of.
You know, you go around in certain instances, you know, in an action movie, you kill some people and you think, oh, but there are chances to make movies that kind of stay with you the rest of your life. I mean, certainly as I've gone through my life, there are movies when they're done at their very best become about moments you never ever forget for a lifetime, because people are going to revisit them. And Hidden Figures had kind of had that DNA, I thought. Yeah. Women did, and you know, and there's a moment in our film when John Glenn won't go, and he says, "Get me the girl." I go, "Girl? What girl?" He goes, "A special one." And so it was good to see them, you know, all work. And Taraji really certainly has a role of a lifetime. And
yeah, she does in this, and it's a lot of math and a lot of technical things. How did that hit home for you?
Yeah, well, it doesn't hit home for me. I'm still like always doing these like chin boogies, like I understand, and I don't understand anything. You learn a long time ago just to be quiet, and then everybody will think that you actually know what's happening. But math is.
You know, about love, about, I would say, trust. Trust in the person you love, trust in your intuition. Trust in even the job you're doing, the mission itself, and that's what I most liked about the script, and that's what I focused on really. Every day she was so complimentary of my French. She was incredibly impressed.
I was. I mean, I know what it is.
Fantastique. It was like birds singing, wasn't it? Like on a Sunday morning, every time I spoke French.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Marianne. Beau séjour. is known to be the life of the party. And I would describe Marion, very similar, very vivacious. It's terrible to say these nice things in front of you. I'm not used to it.
Memory.
Musical what?
Childhood memory.
Oh, musical childhood memory. I can remember slowing up the record to get, oh, I bet you if someone approached you yesterday to tell you that you would be jamming, you would not believe it because you never thought that you would be jamming. That's by Stevie Wonder. I remember slowing that up and, just to get that, because I couldn't understand what he was saying, and I was so interested to hear what he was saying so I could learn it. And that was like one of the hardest things I heard Stevie Wonder do. So I wanted to get that, so I remember that. I was about, I guess, 12, 13. The guitar. My mom bought me a guitar, my brother a bass guitar, and my other brother a drum set. And mine was like the lead guitar. That was the first instrument.
And what's the first thing you ever composed on that?
Gentlemen, my name is Usher Raymond IV. I play Sugar Ray Leonard in Hands of Stone. I mean, he was an American icon and someone who represented so much hope for African American people. When you saw Sugar Ray Leonard, you know that you could do it all. You could be a major athlete and have endorsements. You could be recognized, celebrated, and still be tough at the same time with class. In preparation for Sugar Ray, I did a few things. I read his book. I got to know him better. I worked with a very specific trainer to be a boxer, to think like a boxer, to understand what it is to stand toe-to-toe with amateurs, at least. Couldn't imagine ever standing toe-to-toe with the people who he did, man. It was, looking back at those.
Actually, I shot it in my own home on the break that I fought tooth and nail to get from the Avengers, which was officially known for creating a strong female character. People like to sort of put that in a box and say that's what you're going to do. What I like to do is create human characters. Willy-nilly, I have a bit of a reputation for it, one that I'm quite tired of, to be truthful. But the fact of the matter is, if I'm not putting people through the paces, if I'm not giving them real pain and real loss and real hardship and sometimes real tragedy, then I'm not a storyteller.
You are...
all milling about till all hours, just being incredibly funny, and me just sort of hanging out with them, waiting for the day that, you know, I would make them laugh. And, you know, every time you did, you scored a little hit. You're just like, yeah, that's right, I'm in the tribe. You know, the sort of monstrous, isolated creature, but that we all can relate to, especially when we're in high school, but they happen to be the most beautiful, sexy, perfect, usually sort of vaguely wealthy and well-dressed version. It's not, you know, we're not up there with our hunchbacks.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It's crazy. I was quite intrigued, actually. I got a call just saying to come in and to Jerry's office, and it was, they sort of just pitched me the idea. They didn't have a script in place at the time, but the idea was to be this sort of emotional springboard, really, for my son's character to go off on this journey. It's a similar narrative to the first film. I think if you ask people arguably would say that the first movie was one of their favorites. And so I think they kind of brought back some of the themes and ideas from that first movie into this film, and I think it's pretty fantastic.
Well, it looks...
I think you get that energy, don't you? I mean, when we made the first film, we had no idea of the success it was going to be, and it was sort of, Johnny hadn't created that iconic role of Captain Jack as yet, and we really were just like out there in the Caribbean making these giant movies that, well, turned out to be giant movies. And so returning...
No, I mean, we would be at sea just to get to the next place, so... Yeah. So sometimes it would be a week at sea. When we crossed the Atlantic, it was like almost 3 weeks. But we were mostly living in the Caribbean islands, so we'd sail between the islands and sometimes stay at one for 3 months. Sometimes we'd stay at one for 3 weeks, whatever they felt like, really. And there was a kind of, a really beautiful kind of freedom to that. And of course, we weren't in school, so we were just running around and exploring and doing what kids do.
And how did you get the money to buy food?
Well, my parents, when we left Bermuda, we lived in a little cottage there, and they just rented out the cottage while we were away. And so we were on a very tight budget. I mean, we we ate a lot of, well, a lot of fresh fish, but a lot of, like tinned food and just basic stuff. And then in the islands, there's always people selling the vegetables on the